Water scarcity continues to be a huge challenge in some parts of the OR Tambo region in the Eastern Cape. This despite billions of rands being injected into the long-awaited Umzimvubu Water project, which is aimed at addressing the issue of water. Residents of Makhwaleni in Lusikisiki, where the multi-billion rand project had already started, demand its completion. Fundiswa Mhlekude visited the area and filed this report.
It has become a norm for rural villages to share water with animals. They are forced to fetch water from rivers and other unsafe sources. Villagers at Makhwaleni in Lusikisiki believe the Umzimvubu Water project would solve their problems. The multi-billion rand Umzimvubu Water project would include the construction of the Laleni, Ntabelanga and Makhwaleni dams. Construction started at Makhwaleni in 2005. However, it was short-lived following a misunderstanding between local traditional leaders and the contractor that was building the dam.
After we came here asking questions about what brought them here without consulting the king and traditional leaders, we heard that they up and left. We only wanted to know why they didn't tell us about such a big project worth billions of rands.
Through the construction of this dam, thousands of jobs would also be created for locals. They believe the delay in completion of the project is a huge setback.
We stay home basking in the sun all day long. We have nothing to do because there are no jobs for us. Our village has no water. We use this water as dirty as it is.
Construction of the dam will help youth get jobs. And then water. As you can see, we don't have water. We have toilets, but how are we supposed to flush our toilets without water?
Village elders want the project to resume in order to address unemployment among village youth.
We were hoping for the construction of the Laleni dam. We know that it will help the youth. There would be development and a change in the village. There are so many things we can benefit from the construction of the Laleni dam.
We wish the dam could be built so that our children can get jobs. Some of them are orphans and there's no one who has a job in their families. So they survive on their grandparents' old age grant.
But it looks like help is on the way.
There's been a lot of delays about that project and making more complications because there are two aspects to that dam. There's the commercial and the social part of that dam. We have taken a decision that the social part of that dam, which is we build the dam 2 billion, starting from the 1st of April next year. That decision I have made, and we have had in discussion with my colleague, the Minister of Water Affairs, that tenders must be out so that by the 1st of April we start, or the first invoices must start from the 1st of April.
More than 6,000 households in the OR Tambo, Alfredo and Jogabi districts stand to benefit from the project. They would get clean drinking water as well as water for irrigation schemes. Fundiswa Mhlekude in the Eastern Cape.
Pasika Nontshiza is a spokesperson for the Mzimvubu Water project affected communities. He joins us now to speak about this. A very good evening to you and thank you so much for speaking to us. The thought is that ensuring water infrastructure systems withstand various water-related shocks, regardless of whether those emanate from extreme events or not, particularly degradation of water quality, should be a priority. Do you believe you are getting this right?
Very good evening, Sapisa, and a very good evening to the entire country. The answer, Sapisa, is a yes or no. Yes.
Yes, you're saying it's a yes or no. The yes part is?
Yes part, in the sense that the social and the economic benefits of the project are quite valid, and if they were to be realized, it would be a game changer. The no part of it, Sapisa, is that the government has literally not come into the party there is a lack of political will, in the sense that communities had to resort to court of law to bring the project where it is right now. And even the pronouncement by the minister, as it stands, it has not filtered into the community. It is being said in ivory towers.
And we'll look at the National Infrastructure Plan in just a moment, but in terms of the water sector in your area, I mean, we know the Eastern Cape, particularly Nelson Mandela Bay, has faced what has been called Day Zero several times, but the predictions are that we are a few years away from water shortages that will actually almost have a similar impact to the current electricity shortages. Are you there already?
Absolutely, Fundiswa. As you know, the area is endowed with a lot of rainfall. That being the case, we are likely to be a catalyst in the sense that not far from where I am, that is in the municipality called Umzimvubu municipality in Butterworth, there are serious water challenges. You would know that there are serious water challenges in Makhanda in Grand South. Similarly, the Ugu just behind us, there are serious water challenges. Therefore, this project is likely to unlock all that. It is also likely to ensure that there are various productive water uses. One can mention here the issue of recreation, the issue of agriculture, which for a long time this area has always been a food basket for this region. But most critically, another aspect which is hidden here, is that if the project were to be realized like the communities have conceptualized in, it would pump not less than 202 million kilowatts of hydroelectric power into the regional grid. But the reason why I'm saying that is a bit concerned is because that information is the information which the communities presented to court after government couldn't hear anything of it. And even now, as I've alluded to, the government is still running away from the communities, whereas the communities had conceptualized it and also they were encouraged here by the passing on of the government gazette of 24 July 2020, which is a government gazette 4547. In a nutshell, the government needs to come into the party. It needs to go down to Mother Earth and talk to communities so that this does not become just one of those projects which is being constructed and it does not go any further.
I'm actually glad that you actually answered that question before I asked it, because I did wonder the level and quality of consultation of communities. But the major point, particularly in rural areas where there are water challenges, is the inequality of access to water and sanitation. As I mentioned earlier, the deteriorating water quality, pollution and corruption, as well as the inefficient use, waste, leaks, illegal and undocumented water use, and unsuitable and unmaintained infrastructure. So a myriad of problems. But if you could just give a human face to it, for communities living in the area, how do they withstand these challenges? What do they contend with?
That could be attributed.
Yes, you can continue.
That could be attributed to the lack of capacity from those with the jurisdiction of water and sanitation in this regard, the district municipalities. But the communities on the ground, they are quite proactive in the sense that in many of our areas, we understand that when we talk about OR Tambo, Alfred Nzo, and a certain portion of Amatole district municipality, we are only serviced by one university, which is the Walter Sisulu University. Now, the communities, before they took up the matter, they had done their own consultation, mainly with the Tibet colleges, to say more than water supply, more than hydroelectric, and more than the economic spin-off, we are mainly concerned about the skill base. So would you, as a Tibet, come into the party so that when the dam is being constructed, both pre and post, we can be in a situation whereby we can know that in terms of skills, we are not lacking. There are memorandum of understanding which have been signed with those Tibet, but as you are saying, on behalf of all those royal leaders who have been brave enough and took up the matter, the government is still running away from them, and in running away from them, they are losing out here for people on a critical and a significant component of community participation. And in this regard, community participation, which is sustainable and which is going to put people on both on an economic, on a social, and on a healthy path, which can face their lives.
I mean, another weak link to this is municipal services. The fact that South Africa has industrial ambitions, industrial growth and rapid urbanization are big pressure points for municipal areas. But I believe that the water services by authorities is the fact that they're underperforming. They lack the resources, the skills, as you mentioned earlier on. I want to go back to just explaining to us from a human-to-human perspective how all of this is affecting residents, because I think a lot of the time all of this becomes an academic exercise unless you say, our mom, I have to walk 5 kilometers every day to just get a 5-kilogram bucket of water. Mr. Nontshiza? Yes, so I was saying, can you share with us the experiences of the community? I mentioned some of the other factors, poor municipal services and lack of expertise, which is something that you mentioned, skills to, give effect to some of these plans, including the National Infrastructure Plan that government has in its eye view in terms of plans. But when it comes down to the human-to-human perspective, what do people in the community go through?
Probably, Tsepiso, the time consumed by our mothers and our younger sisters in fetching water, it is a time which could be utilized for something else. In this particular regard, you would have a situation whereby the white paper and water and sanitation is clear that water should be available within a certain distance in the communities. But in practice, that is not happening. And in it not happening, it is therefore taking time away, one, from the pupils who are attending school, two, from the mamas who are left with the responsibility of ensuring that when the kids are at school, they prepare something from them. But most critically, you must understand it from the point of view of saying, a mother who can be able to use a bit of water in order to irrigate her 40 by 40 meter plot or a garden is unable to do that. So it therefore becomes an act of inequity in the sense that water is a basic human right, and it being a basic human right, it is not being realized by Abu Mama, as you have correctly alluded to, and in the process, it impacts on the level and on the quality of health in those areas.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. Pasika Nontshiza is the spokesperson for the Mzimvubu Water project affected communities. Now, the Deputy Minister of Water says in these areas where there are water shortages or blockages, they have made strides. He says access to water supplies now at 88.7% compared to the 68% of households who were receiving water. So we'll keep on tracking the story. It's been a major story throughout the year.